You're listening to The Litter Box, a Detroit Tigers podcast, with your hosts, Chet West and Bill Patterson. Here's what's on deck for this episode.
And we've just finished our first margarita. We're having a second one.
Keith has been nothing short of amazing.
It was not the smoothest outing, but good to see Alex Lang back out there.
They were just drinking margaritas, eating tortilla chips by the plateful.
We've got less than 2 weeks before playoff rosters are due to be set. I ate copious amounts of tortilla chips yesterday afternoon, and it was sort of by accident, a little of my own doing. I ended up going out for a cocktail, a little happy hour cocktail with a buddy of mine. Sat out on the porch trying to enjoy the end of summer. Got a couple margaritas. Those slide down real easy. They're very good at this place. And the next thing I know, chips and salsa shows up. And I started eating chips and salsa like there were none left. There were going to be none left in the world. I went through an entire, this guy's just sitting there watching me. I'm just shoveling chips and salsa. I mean, salsa's flying everywhere. I've got it down the front of me. He just looks at me. He's like, "Did you eat today?" I'm like, "I didn't really have lunch." So I had the whole plate of chips and salsa. And the guy comes back out, and we had just finished our first margarita. We were having a second one. And the guy comes back out, and he's like, do you guys want more chips and salsa? And I looked at him, and I go, "Yes, please. Yes." And he brings it out. I said it kind of non, like, "Yes, please." We were in the middle of discussion. You know, he said, yeah, bring it out. And I kept eating them. And this guy's sitting there looking at me like, "I've had 4 chips dipped in salsa in the last hour and a half. You've had 2 plates and 2 bowls of salsa." And I got home, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "Hey, what do you want for dinner? Nachos?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's do nachos." So we had nachos for dinner. I make a whole baking pan full of nachos for dinner. Ground beef, the whole works, cheese, queso, you name it. And I eat at least another half bag of chips on top of that. I have like a tortilla chip adobe forming in my stomach this morning. I have been up since 5 o'clock. I woke up, I had that I can barely breathe. I had to roll out of bed. It feels awful. I'm hoping the coffee does something for me. Anyways, Litterbox listeners, we brought you in a little different on this glorious Thursday morning. Following a Tigers sweep, I ate too many tortilla chips. Bill got 9 hours of sleep apparently and slept like a baby. I got like 5 and I feel like hell. So we've got a ton to cover today. And like I said, we just came out of a Houston Astros series that we were kind of hoping we'd at least win one game based on how we'd been playing. And we go out and get a sweep, and the Astros only score 2 runs. 2 runs through the whole series. My co-host Bill, how are you on your full night of 9 hours rest? Probably didn't eat 2 bags of chips like I did last night.
No.
How do you feel about the sweep? How are you feeling today?
It's funny how we each celebrate in our own different ways. And let's just talk about what's been going on, because I think we're being way too hard on this team. That is now 4 series wins. We have the Angels win. We have the White Sox. We have the Twins, and a sweep of the Astros, who, yes, we were hoping for 2 games tops. You know, we knew that we had Scoobs going on the mound, and actually that was the tightest game of them all. But again, the Astros are at a historic low. The last time they had an offensive drought like this, it was 1985. So it's crazy to think just how cold and almost putrid their offense has gotten right now.
Well, it's crazy to think of how teams just flip all of a sudden. I mean, the Astros were one of the hotter teams a month ago. I mean, where were we then? We were looking at this series as like a huge pivotal series in the season for us, right?
Yeah. The only saving grace for the Astros right now is that their competition in their division, the Mariners and Rangers, have both gone stone cold. But this isn't an Astros podcast. This is a Tigers podcast.
Exactly.
And I've got 2 players that I really want to give shout outs to. So let's give the accolades right off the bat. Colt Keith has been nothing short of amazing in terms of his OPS is the best on the team and is top 3 in the major leagues the last 60 games. He is the leadoff hitter that I have dreamt about and wanted all season. He is our version of Stephen Kwan, except for he can play more positions than Stephen Kwan. So I have to give a kudo and a shout out to Colt Keith for that. Player number 2, who I just don't think gets enough recognition, even though we called it very early. Spring training in this podcast, we said he would be your starting catcher, and we said he would be a player that you'd love. Number 13, the catcher's number for the Tigers, because formerly worn by my personal favorite Tiger, Lance Parrish. Dillon Dingler is going to have the best WAR if the season ended today, outside of Tarek Skubal on this team. And for a player playing in his first full season, he has been nothing short of amazing. And those are the 2 position players that I want to give credit to. I've got some pitching credit, but I wanted to hear your thoughts right now.
I think we need to do a Dillon Dingler appreciation pod at some point in time. Just sit down and go through the Dillon Dingler effect on this team. He has been the one constant all season long. No real slumping off, no real drought. He doesn't even have the highest OPS on the squad. He does, I believe currently, if he's not there, he's close to having the highest batting average, or he's really close, like 1 or 2, depending on the day. But he's a catcher. We haven't seen a lot of catching at this level for the Tigers in quite some time. He did DH in this series, which is, kudos to him. DJ's looking at him like, your bat is hot, I got to get you in the lineup. How often do we say that about, catchers outside of maybe Rushman a year ago or whatnot? But it's the Keith thing. If Colt Keith is handsome, Dillon Dingler is sexy. They're both fantastic. I don't know why that just popped into my head. That was the way I was kind of looking at, like, Colt Keith plays a nice, tidy ball game, right? He has great plate appearances. He works a count better than anybody. And not to say Dingler doesn't, but Dingler just provides that charge and that pop when you want it. Like, he'll just come in all of a sudden and start raking. Kind of reminds me of the way Carp was toward the end of last year a little bit.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. I actually think it was a combination of corn tortillas, whatever they fried them in, the excess amount of sodium your body's dealing with, and a little bit of tequila shooting up to your brain.
It could be that.
Yeah, that's
it could be that.
Yeah.
It makes a hell of a mixture, which I'm still trying to get over as I drink my coffee here this morning. The other side of this is we got to see, we had game 1 as a blowout, 10-0, and it was a great way to start this whole series off. No complaints whatsoever.
Might be my favorite win of the season, and I know there's recency bias, but it was one of those games that just felt complete. Everybody contributed. Even the guy that I'm harshest on, Trey Sweeney, showed up.
Trey Sweeney shows up after we bash him for a month, right? And he's done this now in a couple of games, and I'm not getting excited yet, okay? He had a couple even hard-hit balls by StatCast metrics. His average is creeping up to 209, which is sad in one sense, but we're getting a few points, right? Yeah, give him a golf clap for that. But he has had a couple of good games lately, and you know what he did in this game? Your favorite play, he hit a triple, which let's just take a moment. I think it's his second or third one of the season. The other thing, and maybe we need to be hard on these guys, Jack Flaherty, I think he pitched his magnum opus for the 2025 season.
I think he pitched his magnum opus for the last 3 seasons.
7 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 1 walk, 9 Ks. We have not seen that Jack Flaherty, and that curveball was vicious.
Filthy.
It was as though he was angry at the world, went out there and took it out on the Astros. Beautiful game. Troy Melton. We had a Troy Melton sighting. 1 inning, nothing across, 1 strikeout. I am loving everything I'm seeing from this guy, whether he's starting or relieving. And we had an Alex Lang sighting. Alex Lang, back to the mound, gets his inning of work in. Gave up 2 hits, a walk, got a K, did it in 20 pitches. It wasn't the smoothest thing on the face of the earth, but
he loaded him at one point.
Yeah, it was not the smoothest outing, but good to see Alex Lang back out there, but also don't want him to fall into just the pit of our below average bullpen at times. So hopefully we see better things from him going forward. Your thoughts?
It was good to see his full sleeve of tattoos out there throwing hard.
Yes.
He is a swing and miss guy. He is desperately needed in this bullpen. So let's hope that outing 1 was just getting some of the rust off, because it had been, quite some time since he had last pitched. The thing I wanted to bring up, and it previews game 2 as well, but it goes back to Dillon Dingler, is the word of, like, the baseball insider word of Monday and Tuesday was tunneling. that Flaherty was tunneling, that Skubal was tunneling. So the hitter comes up to the plate, the hitter previously, whether it was the last inning or the previous batter, gets out on a slider or a breaking ball just in the zone. And so they're expecting to see something like that. And then the fastball comes in, four seam, location's perfect. And then the next pitch is a slider. Then the next pitch is a slider. And the batters were guessing in both games. And a lot of that credit not only has to go to Jack Flaherty and Tarik Skubal, but it really needs to go to Dillon Dingler, who's framing. And again, for the uninitiated, that is where the catcher's setting up the pitcher's location behind the plate. He was masterclass in both of these outings. And I just have to give a huge shout out. Not only is he hitting, and to your point, Chet, AJ Hinch has used him on multiple occasions this season as either a DH or a pinch hitter on days that he is scheduled to be off to get some rest, because as we all know, catching is extremely hard on anybody's body. And I just, again, the Dillon Dingler appreciation train needs to continue rolling, because I don't know that either of those starting pitchers have the success they have in either game 1 or 2 without that.
When we talk about tunneling, just to go back to what Bill had brought up there a minute ago, folks, this is, in baseball 101, the term tunneling refers to when a pitcher is basically disguising their pitches. So a curveball and a fastball, or a slider, usually it's with a slider and a fastball, coming out of the hand look identical. They come out of the same slot. The ball travels on the same arc or the same path to the plate, but the slider will break off at the last second, whereas the fastball will stay flat, of course, or move a little bit, depending on the type of fastball being thrown. But that's tunneling. So you're tunneling the pitch. You're throwing it down a tunnel, and at the last second, it shoots out of that tunnel and does whatever it's going to do and surprises the batter. It's a great – pitchers work on this to disguise what's being delivered. Obviously, if you're going to throw a slider and you can't disguise it and the batter knows it's coming out of the hand, it makes it a lot easier on them to pick that up. Game 2, you want to jump over to that one? Because that was a playoff atmosphere.
It really was.
1-0 Tigers, but
10 innings, Comerica was rocking that
this
night.
is what happens when you get two pitchers at the prime of their game. Hunter Brown is one of the best pitchers in the American League.
Speaking
Skubal's right there.
Can we poop on the previous regime just a minute here?
Yeah.
Hunter Brown is a local kid, went to Wayne State, and I believe he was a 5th-round pick of the Astros. He was on the Tigers' radar, but our former illustrious management staff neglected, despite the fact that the Tigers were his boyhood team and dream to pitch for, to draft him in any way, shape, or form. So Al Avila.
Avila rhymes with tortilla, by the way, which are still baking in my system right now. I just want to throw that out there.
You getting a little gurgle?
Percolating.
Chet might be hitting the Pepto today, folks.
Yep.
Anyway, I was
didn't mean to break your thought.
No, where I was going to go on that is just a 1-0 win, and that is 10 innings. It was exceptional.
Hunter Brown has had a long path here. He's had injury stuff. He's had some stuff going on with the Astros, and he's finally kind of showing that promise that he had earlier on as a prospect. And you got to see two guys at the top of their game going against each other. This is what the playoffs are going to be like, guys. I mean, this could be that had a playoff pitching matchup feel to it of a game 1 of the playoffs, where the bats were just kind of like afraid to come out of the cage and the pitchers were just keeping them pinned down. And then finally, of course, we get the one run that scores in the 10th inning is basically a bases loaded walk. And you want to talk about fitting for a game like this, that would happen.
Well, this goes back to game 1, though, and the fact that because Flaherty was so good, that the Astros had to go to their bullpen early after a weekend where their bullpen was beleaguered and battered. And so they really didn't have a lot left in the tank. The only complaint I have for the Tigers in game 2 is when the Astros beleaguered bullpen did come out. Once Hunter Brown had finished his day, the Tigers really couldn't do a whole lot against him.
Sure.
I do have to give kudos, though. Guess who's getting on base again at a high clip?
Whom?
That would be Gleyber Torres.
Yeah, I had a feeling this was coming. He was the hero. He was the hero of the 10th.
Somebody else has now 8 walks in his last 7 games, and that would be Riley Green. So the Tigers are taking more pitches, which I also think this disciplined plate approach is helping them very well.
This is what they were doing in the first half.
Exactly.
They had a disciplined plate approach, and now we're back to that. We had our our drunk monkey month of not doing the right thing at the plate and acting like an idiot, and now we're back to taking pitches.
They were just drinking margaritas, eating tortilla chips by the plateful all of July.
I couldn't swing a bat right now. I think I would tear something in my gut. What I would say is, I want to ask you this question. I want your opinion on this. Caleb Ort, I don't know if you watched all the way through the 10th inning, but Caleb Ort was the unlucky reliever who walked 3. Unlucky or unskilled reliever who walked 3. He relies heavily on the sweeper, okay? And the sweeper doesn't really end up in the strike zone. He had, I believe, a 3-2 count, or he had gotten to 3 balls and 1 strike or something on Torres, and he gets this final pitch, and Torres is up there waiting on it, and you can tell Torres is like, it's either going to be down the pipe or it's going to sweep and be out of the zone, and I'm going to get the walk, and we're going to win. And he threw the sweeper on the 3-2. And I'm sitting there, and my wife was watching with me, Charlotte, and she played softball in the day, so she kind of knows what's going on. She goes, why not throw the strike there and make the guy get the hit? Like, why not put it over the plate and see if you can get the guy to hit into a ground out or a fly out or something? And I agree with that. I sat there saying to myself, I'm like, why wouldn't you? I mean, what is the upside of throwing that sweeper if Torres knows if he throws the sweeper, it's a ball? Like, why not put it over the plate? Maybe even jump him and surprise him with a fastball up and in or something. Like, I don't know. Your thoughts?
I think it's safe to say you married into the A.J. Hinch mindset tree. We've always known that you
A.J. Hinch all the time. Let me tell you.
Yeah, we know that you outkicked your coverage in every way with Charlotte, and this just proves it yet again. It's another exclamation point. So kudos, Charlotte. You are correct.
But you would agree, right? Throw a strike there. 100%. See if you can get him to ground out, fly out. Like, you raise your percentages. I think Glaber knew. He's like, if this thing doesn't look like a flat fastball down the pipe, I'm not swinging. And it swept way out of the zone. Any rate, 1-0 win, 10 innings, exciting. We got to game 3, 7-2 ball game, Tiger win.
And Tarek Skubal Tuesday became the first pitcher to record 200 Ks in 2025.
We really are just kind of blowing off his accolades at this point,
which is
expecting him to be dominant. I'm sorry, I should have talked a little more about Tarek's dominance in that game.
Yeah, in the second year in a row that he's done that, going up against Hunter Brown, who is one of his competitors for the American League Cy Young this year, I think went a long way towards Skubal repeating as the American League Cy Young winner. Now, we still have some baseball left to pitch. Yeah, baseball left to play, but I would say he's in the catbird seat going forward. Yeah, Skubal, first to 200 Ks, and he had 25 swing and misses in this game, which is,
my goodness,
unheard of.
Benetti, his swing and miss rate's got to be through the roof.
Benetti and Peaches were just gushing.
Peaches is loving this. Peaches is just like, this is my guy. Gushing. I mean, he was stalking the mound again, and I swear, Skubal's a big boy. They made a comment in the telecast. I think it was Benetti said something along the lines of, if they had who's the lineman? TJ he played for the Packers.
TJ Lang.
Yeah, TJ Lang was on some.
He's Benetti's partner for the preseason Lions games.
Bingo. So he had made a comment that Tarek Skubal would be a tight end if he played football, and I don't doubt that. And
they have him listed at 240. I think he's a bigger boy than that.
He's getting bigger, I think. All the way around. But
he's like Tim Tebow size.
Yeah. He's a thick kid. So we had an interesting matchup in game 3. Framber Valdez comes in, who's their number 2, and I saw him as like a problem. I didn't think we were going to get a sweep with this guy coming in. He's a lefty, which we struggle against. He had a pretty decent 330-something, 320-something ERA before this game. He got lit up.
He's a ground ball pitcher as well that the Tigers typically struggle with. But to your point, Chet, he had no location. He was walking guys, and when he wasn't walking them, he was hanging balls in the zone, and the Tigers feasted on it.
I had to do a double take. I mean, I'm at work watching the score, and I had to do a double take on the first inning, 6-0. I was like, what? It's like, that's got to be wrong. And I look in, and it's a slaughter. 4 walks. He gave 4 walks, 7 runs, and only had 2 Ks. And he got his hard hit. I mean, he gave up 10 or 11 hard hits based on StatCast metrics. So they were rocking him. Dingler had 3 hard hit balls. Baez 2. Ibanez had 2. Jahmai Jones. By the way, Jahmai Jones really starting to appreciate his work. Is he an answer for leadoff hitter?
No.
Okay.
Keep Colt Keith there.
Okay.
For next year, I think Colt Keith is your starting second baseman and your leadoff hitter. And we still need a everyday third baseman unless you're going to platoon Wencel Perez, Andy Ibanez, and whomever else there.
I mean, Jahmai Jones is another of these guys with like a middling batting average right now, and he's got an OPS well above 800.
He and Perez are interchangeable in the fact that they both play good defense. They'll play wherever you want them to, and the fact that their OPS is so much higher than that of their batting average. And that really is, I guess we should probably give a shout out to this. Baseball's changed immensely in the last few years. Don't get a corn chip stuck there, okay? I need you as my co-host, buddy. And batting average is something, now that every pitcher can spin the ball, everybody can throw 4 pitches for sure. Some can throw as many as 6 or 7. Getting on base is key. And I know it's a, Moneyball axiom, so on and so forth. That being said, the Tigers do it as well as anybody in the big leagues. And that's why this series was so important, is because we saw the Tigers of the first, let's say, 2.5 months of this year up until the All-Star break. And the other part is, this was 3 key games that will help the Tigers hopefully get one of the 2 byes come playoff time. You do not want to, whether you're the Tigers, whether you're the Yankees, Red Sox, Astros, Blue Jays, whomever else, have to play a 3-game set against anybody, winner take all, either at your park or at somebody else's park to open the playoffs. And if the Tigers can get that bye, I feel real good about their postseason chances, a lot better than I would if they don't get that bye. So that is just something that I want our listeners to keep focusing on. I know right now the Tigers have a 10-game lead in the division. The red-hot Royals, who had previously, they lost yesterday, but had won 5 straight before that, come to town this weekend, and then they play the Royals again next weekend at Kauffman. Essentially, that's a knockout series for the Royals. The Tigers can end their season by winning both those series. With that, I, again, cannot say how much standing watching I will be doing and you will be doing and other fans will be doing, hoping and praying that the Tigers do get one of these 2 byes. Mm-hmm. And brother-in-law Brett sent this the other day, and I started kind of getting goosebumps and getting a little excited.
Yeah.
The Blue Jays are the other team. Can you imagine an American League Championship series between the Blue Jays and Tigers? They're only 4.5 hours apart, stadium to stadium, Rogers Center to Co-America. 2 fan bases that used to play each other often in the American League East.
Familiar foes.
Yeah, I don't think the ratings will be good because, Canadian ratings don't translate to Nielsen ratings like American cities do, and Detroit was part of the worst watched World Series ever against the San Francisco Giants. That is still secondary into the fact that as a fan base, we would absolutely eat it up. So that's what I'm hoping for as we look forward. And we've got a 3-game set against the Royals. The other issue that I think we want to focus on is that the Tigers have an off day today. They have Thursday off days the rest of the season. So they are going to be well rested. They have games in hand against just about everybody they play, and they have more off days than I believe all but 3 other teams in Major League Baseball, and those 3 teams are not in the catbird seat, sitting on top of their division and hoping for a first-round bye.
So interestingly enough, and you're talking a lot about the playoffs right now, so I kind of want to interject and bring something up. We've got less than 2 weeks before playoff rosters are due to be set. August 31st, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Anybody who's going to play in the playoffs has got to be on your roster at that juncture.
The 40-man.
The 40-man. Tommy Canley was missing in action during this series this week. Hasn't pitched since last Friday, I believe, against the Twins. He is coming up in the news as a possibly his spot's in jeopardy right now in the 40-man. They brought Hannafy up yesterday, which that whole thing was mind-boggling. They sent him down. Nobody really knows why he got sent down. I mean, it was to make room. I mean, there were a couple of strange roster moves and pitching moves that happened. We lost a decent reliever from AAA that we had to remove and end up losing to the Nationals. I am
Jackson.
Yeah, there's a lot of things. Not Luke Jackson. It was a different guy. He hadn't pitched up at the big club yet, but he had potential, and I cannot remember his name at this point, but I can look it up. But at any rate, Kenley, what do you think? Is he making the playoff roster? Is he a guy you want on that roster? Do you think he can get it back to where he was at the beginning of the season? Is probably a better way of putting it.
No, but I do think he'll be on the 40-man.
You think he'll be on the 40-man. So you think he'll be around.
Well, the alternative is he's 35. He's out of options. Unless he gets hurt, if you don't have him on the roster, then he's free to go somewhere else. And I'd rather not pitch Tommy Kahnle than have to go against Tommy Kahnle that was good for the first 8 weeks of the season. That's my thought.
Okay. All right. So maybe he stays on the roster in your eyes. So what it was is it was a weird move when they added Luke Jackson. Maybe that's what you were getting at.
Yeah.
They added Luke Jackson. They ended up losing Hannafy down to AAA, and PJ Pulin had to leave the organization to make room. PJ Pulin then went on to pitch in relief for the Nationals like a day or two later. They picked him up off the wire, and he gets a scoreless inning and looks great. And he was a guy that was looking really good in AAA. So this might have been a Scott Harris bungle here. And when AJ Hinch was asked about it, he's like, it's what happens, you know? We got to move along.
Harris and company got torched for this.
Yeah.
And all sorts of baseball media. The local media wasn't as harsh on them as the national media was. Some of the East Coast writers, Red Sox, Yankees, Mets, Phillies, torched him for it. But thus far, I would say Scott Harris, as harsh as we were on the dumpster dive, Kyle Finnegan paired with Will Vest has been nothing short.
Finnegan's been lights out.
A revelation.
Great.
Yeah. And I have to say, Charlie Morton was serviceable yet again. He's not great. He's not going to wow you. It was interesting that he and Chris Paddock chatted intently for 2.5 innings yesterday, and the camera just kept going back on them. That has been a very, very shrewd, let's say, pickup. It wasn't sexy. It wasn't ordering the second plate of nachos or tortilla chips.
No, that's not sexy.
It was,
I can tell you that right now.
Getting a small bowl of chips with really bad paste salsa.
Probably.
That you need to, dump salt on to even have any flavor.
But Charlie's serviceable. And I think that's what you're getting at. Like, he's doing the job.
And I think Charlie is a nails guy, meaning Charlie will come out of the bullpen. Mm-hmm. Paddock will come out of the bullpen. And so they got guys that AJ can work with. And
I'm not sold on Paddock yet, but Morton, I'm good with.
You don't have to be sold on him. I don't know that I am either.
Sure.
I still think for what was given up, they were shrewd, smart moves. And I went through prospectus last night before I went to bed, my 9 hours. And the Tigers' top prospects remained virtually unchanged pre and post deadline. Yeah. And outside of the Mariners, they have the healthiest farm system. And in MLB, I'm excited for the fact the Blue Jays also have a healthy. I would love to see the Tigers, Blue Jays, and Mariners be competing at the highest level in the American League the next few years. And if we can just put to bed the Astros until possibly the playoffs, their farm system is decimated.
Yeah.
Everybody's either up at the show or pretty far away.
They've had some pretty good pickups. I mean, Cam Smith was a good pickup for them from the Cubs. They've got some young guys. They're not barren below the age of 24 or anything.
No.
But they're definitely not, they definitely don't have the farm system. Let's see what happens with this KC series.
I'm expecting 2 out of 3.
I'm expecting here we go again. I'm expecting 2 out of 3. And if we only win one game, we're going to come back as angry hosts again for you guys on Sunday. But let's see what we can do. Our bats are heating up. Our pitching is rounding the corner here, looking like they want to be in the postseason at this point. So let's see what happens. Let's see if we can cobble together a couple more wins. Like I said, on the way out of this thing, my goal is we don't get swept in any series and we take at least one game from each team. And I think the writing's on the wall, like we've got a postseason berth. I don't think I'm jinxing anything by saying that it would be very difficult in this final stretch to lose a postseason berth. That said, there you go. It's out there. Blame me if it happens. I expect them to win most of these series going out. You?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And Prospectus agrees with us.
Yeah.
Playoff chances are 99.6%. So
99.6%.
Yeah. And we do have all three starting pitchers named for the weekend. You're going to feel good about Friday.
Yeah.
Casey Mize. You're not going to like Saturdays. It's your guy, Chris Paddock. And then Flaherty will be on the bump Sunday. So mixed bag there. The good news with this all is that the Royals are to be determined because they had to use the bullpen last night and they pitch today. So the Tigers are going to come in very well rested. Another key thing about the Astros series is, yes, we did have a, great Tyler sighting and in terms of Melton, and we did get Alex Lang back, but the bullpen was not taxed by any stretch. So we're going into this series fresh. After that, travel west to a AAA ballpark in Sacramento, then to Kauffman Stadium, and then after that, the Tigers don't leave the Eastern time zone.
Well, I tell you what, we're going to wrap it up here. We've given you all sorts of info off this past beautiful sweep we had this week. Bill, I'm all set. You're all set. Go Tigers.
May your digestive system do its work.
Let's hope. All right. That's going to do it for this episode of The Litter Box, a Detroit Tigers podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us. We're Bill and Chet. We'll be back soon with more Tigers talk. If you're enjoying the show, be sure to follow or subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. And hey, if you got a minute, leave us a quick review. Till next time, go Tigers.